How much does a kidney cost?
Police recently busted a network that was trafficking people into neighboring India for the illegal sale of their kidneys.
How does the black market work? Why don't governments stop it? How much is the fine for someone who steals it? 50 kilometers outside Kathmandu, there's a village called Hoxie. It sits in the foothills of the Himalayas. Mud brick houses, cornfields, a few hundred families. If you walked through Hoxie and asked every adult to lift up their shirt, you'd see something no village on earth should have. Scars, long ones, running across stomach after stomach after stomach. Hoxie has a nickname now. Locals call it Kidney Valley because somewhere around 1 in every 2 adults here has sold a kidney. It started in 1990. A broker showed up and offered a local man 10,000 rupees for one of his kidneys. That's about $100. The man said yes, and once one person did it, the door was open. The broker came back. Then more brokers came. They told villagers that the kidney would grow back. They told them the operation was nothing, just a quick procedure, almost no risk. None of it was true. But poverty doesn't ask for proof, it just asks for money. So villagers lined up. A man named Kumar Budafoki sold his kidney for $5,000, hoping it would set his family up for life. Instead, he got chronic pain, no job he could physically do anymore, and barely a fraction of what he was promised. A man named Suman was so desperate he said he saw only 2 paths left for himself: end his life or sell a kidney. He chose the kidney. The broker's playbook was simple and brutal. Find someone broke. Promise a number too big to say no to. Drive them across the border into India, usually to Kolkata or Chennai. Get a hospital to do the surgery, sometimes with a fake donor posing as a relative. Pay out a fraction of the promised amount, if anything at all. Then disappear and find the next village. By the time researchers studied Hoxie properly, they found over 300 residents who had sold a kidney. That's confirmed cases. The real number is almost certainly higher because the scars are easy to hide and the shame is easy to carry alone. Nepal does have laws against this. Selling organs is illegal. Trafficking people for their organs is treated as human trafficking. In 2022, police arrested 9 people running organ networks out of Kathmandu after a man named Santosh was lured with a fake job offer in India, trafficked across the border, and woke up with 1 kidney and a stack of cash he never asked for. But for every arrest, there's another village nobody has studied yet. Nepal's National Human Rights Commission said at least 150 people sold their kidneys from a single district, and only 3 of those cases were ever officially reported. Hoxie exposed something terrifying. You don't need a criminal mastermind to build an organ trafficking economy. You just need enough poverty and enough patience. One village proved that's all it takes, but that was nothing compared to what happens when the village turns into a country. In 2023, Pakistani police pulled apart a network that should sound impossible. One man, 328 kidney surgeries, performed in rented houses. His name was Dr. Fawad Mukhtar, and he didn't run a clinic. He ran something closer to an assembly line. Here's how it worked. Agents would scout hospitals and slums in Lahore, Taxila, and even Pakistan-administered Kashmir, looking for people drowning in debt. They'd offer a donor between 10,000 and 30,000 rupees, pennies compared to what was coming next. Then Fawad would perform the surgery himself, in private homes, with a car mechanic acting as the anesthesiologist. A car mechanic, putting people under anesthesia. The kidneys would then be sold to patients, local and foreign, for between 4 million and 8 million rupees. Some clients paid up to $34,000 for a single kidney. Buyers came from Pakistan, but also from Saudi Arabia and Afghanistan. This wasn't his first time. Fawad had already been arrested 5 separate times before this bust. 5 times. And every single time, he went right back to doing it. The case that finally brought him down started with a missing 14-year-old boy. Police searching for him found something they weren't expecting: an underground lab. The boy had already had a kidney removed. That discovery cracked the case wide open. Punjab's chief minister, Mohsin Naqvi, stood in front of cameras and said something that stuck with everyone who heard it. He said the facts that came out made the heart tremble, and he admitted there were almost certainly more victims than the 328 they could confirm. 8 people were arrested in total. Pakistan had already made organ trafficking punishable by up to 10 years in prison back in 2006. 2010. But laws on paper don't stop a man with a scalpel and a network of agents willing to look the other way for a cut of the money. This wasn't an isolated case either. Just months earlier, Punjab police had busted another ring that lured villagers with fake job offers and sold their kidneys to wealthy foreigners. And in 2017, 2 doctors from Pakistan's own Young Doctors Association were caught operating on victims in a rented house, including a rickshaw driver and a woman who'd been promised about $1,500 each. Pakistan didn't have one rogue doctor. It had an entire underground medical economy, hiding in plain sight, getting arrested, and starting back up again like nothing happened. Unfortunately, this was only the beginning, because the next country didn't just exploit its own poor, it started hunting people who were already running for their lives. Imagine you've already survived a war, you've already crossed the desert, you've already paid smugglers everything you have just for a chance to reach Europe, and you're still short on cash. Then someone offers you a deal, sell a kidney, get $5,000, finally afford the boat. That's exactly what happened to a man named Dawit, an Eritrean refugee who made his way through Sudan into Egypt. Broke and desperate, he met a man who told him there was an easy way to raise money fast. Sell a kidney, live a totally normal life with the one you have left. It's safe, the man said. It's quick. Dawit agreed. He was driven through the night to a hospital, tested, prepped, operated on, and afterward taken to an apartment in Giza to recover, far from anyone who might ask questions. Egypt became one of the biggest organ trafficking hotspots on the planet, and the reason is almost too cruel to say out loud. Europe's own border policy helped create it. As the EU funded Egypt to crack down on migrants trying to cross the Mediterranean, it got harder and more expensive to leave. Smuggling fees went up, and that desperation became a business opportunity for organ brokers who started approaching migrants with a new kind of offer. Sell an organ, fund your escape. A BBC investigation went undercover and found a trafficker who admitted his gang arranged 20 to 30 illegal kidney transplants every single week. Every week. And according to that same trafficker, almost half the donors never got paid at all. They went through the surgery, lost a kidney, and got nothing. One woman named Hiba lived that exact nightmare. She gave up her kidney, trusted the people running the operation, and ended up with one less organ and an empty pocket. It got even darker than missing payments. A British newspaper reported that some African migrants in Egypt were killed for their organs by criminals who decided it was more profitable to take everything than to pay for it. A trafficker named Noor al-Din Atta was quoted describing operatives who came equipped to remove an organ and transport it in insulated bags like they were shipping meat. In July 2018, Egypt's health ministry announced that 37 people had been found guilty in court on charges tied to illegal organ trading. It was treated as a landmark moment, a real crackdown finally landing. But the United Nations had already logged around 700 separate organ trafficking incidents tied mostly to North Africa and the Middle East, and investigators admit even that number is almost certainly far too low. Most victims never report what happened. They're undocumented, afraid of arrest, afraid of deportation, and ashamed. Egypt turned the most desperate moment of a refugee's life, the decision to risk everything to reach Europe, into a business model. And that's where things got even worse, because the next country didn't just sell organs to wealthy foreigners, it built an entire tourism industry around it.